In today's video, we're going to be working on this Chelsea PTO. We're going to pull the PTO off. We're going to put a seal kit in it, hopefully stop it from leaking. This is our Chelsea PTO right here. So you can see, I think, how nasty and gunked up this thing is. This is where the PTO shaft goes, and it runs back to the hydraulic pump behind me. I just made a video a few days ago about replacing the hydraulic hoses and resealing the hydraulic pump. So that is why this PTO shaft is not on here right now, because I already took it off for that project. When this truck sits here for a couple of months, it just leaks all the transmission fluid out of it, and I have to keep refilling it. I got me a drain pan down here, and I got a 9/16 wrench. Working on taking this drain plug out of here. We've got all the fluid out of here now, or at least most of it. I got the drain plug put back in here. So next I need to take this bolt off right here. This goes up to the lever. There's a lever up there in the cab that you pull the lever to engage the PTO. This is the lever right here that you pull to activate or engage the PTO. This lever here, that's the one that raises and lowers the dump bed. This wasn't too difficult. I got two 9/16 wrenches on here, and it came apart pretty easy. We got the nut off of there. Just unhook this lever for now. Now we're going to start taking off the PTO. I've got 6 bolts or nuts. I think it might be studs. So I think I'm going to take off the nuts is what I'm doing here. So I've got 6 of them, one on the bottom, one on the top, 2 on either side. I've got all but 2 of these nuts taken off the PTO. Look how nasty this thing is. So the PTO is definitely leaking. But can you see like this front side, just how gunked up? The last 2 nuts were so hard to take off. I should have probably had some PB Blaster or whatever that stuff is, just spray on there. Finally got them off, and this thing is on here pretty solid, so I had to stick my 5-in-1 in there. Smack this thing with a hammer. Well, there it is. One PTO, Chelsea PTO. This thing is nasty. It's got some kind of weird fabric gasket on here. I don't know. These teeth are pretty chewed up. Yeah, like right here. These teeth are pretty chewed up. But we're not rebuilding this thing. All I want to do is clean it up and put some new seals or gaskets, new O-rings or whatever. We're just cleaning it up. Going to try to stop it from leaking. I spent about an hour on this PTO here. We got it pretty clean. I still need to clean off this gasket material here, but I'll do that in a little bit. Now we're going to start taking this thing apart and try to replace any kind of seal or gasket or O-ring that I can find. Here is my seal kit. I ordered this in December of 2020. It is now September of 2022. So a couple months shy of 2 years ago, I ordered this seal kit. Hey, I've been busy. I've had a lot going on, been working a lot. I got my 1/2-inch socket, and we're just starting to loosen up all these bolts here. Don't really know what we're doing. We're just going to take it slow and take one thing off at a time. Replace the gaskets, and then hopefully just put it back together. Move on to the next thing. All right, let's pull this off of here and see what we got. So we have a gasket here, and it looks like it's just going to come apart in a million little pieces. No telling how long it's been on here. I finally got this thing cleaned up pretty good. I think we're ready to put this cover back on here. So I got it looking pretty shiny. So I scraped the old gasket off with a wood chisel. Then I went around it with some sandpaper, got it shined up pretty good. I also sanded, went around this cover, got it cleaned up pretty good. So this old gasket, it's in a bunch of pieces and it's pretty thick. I don't know if that's one solid gasket. This new material, it's pretty thin. So I'm gonna use either 2 or 3 of these, I think. This kit has a whole bunch of them. There's probably 10 of them in there. I wanna make sure, I think you're supposed to have this, you don't wanna have it too far in or too far out. So I think you can layer these up to set that distance correctly. Also, what I've learned is, you can see this cover, this hole is not in the center. So you gotta make sure, whatever way you pull this off, which the smile was to the back. I just watched a video. That's a good thing about making a video. When you're taking this apart, you can put it back together the correct way. But anyway, you can see how this is bigger than this, and that's important to make sure that this thing is lined up the right way inside there. Anyway, that's my little tip for not knowing what I'm doing. I have noticed that this bearing does not look to be in great shape. I don't think it's supposed to be as loose as this, but we're just gonna leave it. I'm not trying to rebuild this. This dump truck is just like a farm truck. I'm just using it around my property for right now. So this thing, it ran and it dumped, it operated fine before I took it apart. It just leaked a lot of fluid. So even though this thing is still loose, it should hopefully still work fine. I do have some medium strength thread locker. I saw in another video that these holes do go all the way through into this unit. So I think if you don't use some kind of thread locker, fluid could potentially leak around the bolt. Oh, whoa, whoa. Oh, this stuff really just, what a mess. I guess it's turning okay. I'm a little surprised that this is actually working. I took this screw out of here first. You can't use any kind of bearing puller, pulley puller, whatever, because this thing is in the way. I don't have like a big slide hammer. I'm just taking my hammer and smacking this thing here. You know, then I rotate it, smack it on here. Just keep going back and forth. And surprisingly, it's very slowly pulling off of here. Well, the hammer worked great. I cannot believe that actually worked. I think now I also need to take this key out of here. I was hoping to do just one piece at a time and not have to take this whole thing apart, but I guess it's not going to work that way. Pull this out of here. Okay, good. We have been working on this thing for the last hour, cleaning it up. So we got a nice clean edge here and right here. Same thing we did before. We used a wood chisel to scrape off the old gasket. Used some sandpaper, sanded it off. So we're gonna set this aside. We're gonna work on this thing now. So we've got the gasket edge here sanded down and clean, ready for a new gasket. We're gonna take this apart and maybe this. I think there are some O-rings in here, and I think maybe the fluid is coming through here. I've already got this bolt here broken free. Gonna try to keep this stuff in order so I know how it goes back together. But yeah, this is completely soaked in fluid. So it's gotta be leaking through this thing. Little washer here. Pull this straight out of here. Okay, there we go. There is a O-ring right here. Looks pretty loose. Let's see if this will work. Oh, it's broken. I don't know if I just did that. I probably did. I mean, this, who knows how old this thing is. It's probably just brittle. It's flat too. You see how flat that is and skinny? This one is round, and I guess this is the right one. So we're gonna try to put this on here. We got it on there. It's still a little loose. I feel like it should be fatter, but it is raised up. The other one was flush with the metal, and this one is actually raised up. So this is already a little harder to get in here. I think having that new O-ring is gonna be good. The other one slipped right out of there, pretty easy. But this one, because the O-ring is new and it's fatter and it sticks up, there's actually some tension when you try to push it down in there. Hopefully that's a good sign. Maybe this thing won't leak. I've got it back together now. I just tightened it down with my 1/2-inch socket. Now we're gonna try to take this thing out and see if there's an O-ring back there. Well, this is disappointing. It actually makes me kind of mad. I just took this piece out here. It has an O-ring that is clearly old and flat, just like the other one, worn out. You know, it was on here, up against here. I need a new O-ring for this. The kit doesn't have one in there. I think I might have found me an O-ring. It was not in the kit. Right here, number 8 O-ring. It's a plumbing O-ring. It's actually a little bit too small, but I stretched it out and it's on there. So hopefully this is gonna work. It's gotta be better than this thing. I just don't know if O-rings are made different. Are some of them made to withstand the chemicals and like the oil, where this plumbing O-ring it's only made for water? I don't know. So we're gonna give this a shot and hopefully it'll stop it from leaking. All right, we got it put back in there. We got it tightened down with the 7/8" socket. The last thing we need to do before we can put all this back together, so we're gonna take this apart. Now this is a seal right here. There's the new one in the kit. So I need to pop this seal out right here. And this thing is so beat up looking too. I've got this thing all cleaned up, ready for a new gasket, and we've got the new seal pressed in there. Let's see if this will go through. Oh yes, nice, nice, nice. The gasket that I took off of here, again, it was pretty thick like the other side, so I guess I'm gonna use 2 of these. There we go. Okay. And I guess that's gonna be good, just like that. Thread locker. Well, this thing is working good now, but a minute ago this would not spin. So I had to take this cover back off and I added another shim. I added a 3rd gasket in there and now it works good. Not a lot of play in there. Everything spins nice and snug. So this little thing, I'm gonna call this a shoe. I don't know what this thing is called, but it rides in this little groove. Yeah, the sun is messing up my video. So there's a little groove right here. Next to this, you can see this thing sliding back and forth. So this little thing, right, it rides in this groove. So when you pull that lever to activate or engage the PTO, you know, it pulls this thing and it basically slides this over into place, which activates the PTO or the hydraulic pump. This gear, you can't see it because of the darn sun. So these back here, they're always spinning. They're hooked up to the transmission. This one right here is not always spinning. But when you pull that lever and engage it, this slides. They get it right now. This slides over into place and then it activates the hydraulic pump. Now we're going to put the last piece on here. We're going to put this back on here, making sure our little shoe is in that groove. I've got 2 of these gaskets. I'm going to just start with one and then we'll see. Hopefully it's okay. It's going to be lined up and not too tight. I've got this PTO all put back together. As far as I can tell, it seems to be working good. It's not sticking. You know, earlier, before I put the extra gasket in here, I couldn't even turn this shaft. So right now it's good. I'm gonna go put this thing back on the truck. I just spent about 30 minutes cleaning the side of this transmission. This is where the PTO goes. So I'm about to mount this PTO on here. I'm gonna use 2 gaskets. The one that was on there was pretty thick. I've got 4 of these I can use. I think we're just gonna try 2 and hope for the best. Well, there she is, looking all cleaned up, resealed. It's ready for fluid. So right now, I'm not gonna hook up the PTO shaft. That's the last thing I need to do because behind me, the PTO shaft runs to this thing right here. This is a hydraulic pump for my dump bed. There's no fluid in here right now. I just resealed this pump. I also put new hoses on here. I have not put any fluid in here. So in about a week and a half, I'm gonna be putting the dump body back on here and I'll fill the system up. So for the time being, we're not gonna put this PTO shaft back on here. We will go ahead and fill this system up with some fluid and test it out. This is what I have been using in this transmission and PTO ever since I bought this truck 4 years ago. It used to be the cheapest, is why I started using it. Now it's not really the cheapest, but I was at Walmart and they had it. So this SM465, I think it's supposed to use 4 quarts. Plus I have the PTO, which I don't know how much it uses. So we've got 5 quarts here. Hopefully that's gonna be enough to fill up this system. Now these were $6 a piece, so right here you got $30 worth of fluid. I tried to look up online what kind of fluid I'm supposed to put in this transmission, and everybody's got a different opinion. I don't have a service manual on this thing, so we're just going with 80, weight 90, just some basic stuff. There's opinions that it will mess up the synchronizers or it'll corrode the something in there. I have no idea. The last 4 years I've been using this stuff because it leaks out and I just keep refilling it. It's been okay so far. I really don't drive this thing that much. If you haven't seen my other videos, this is how I put the fluid in the transmission while laying on the ground. It takes a while, but this little pump works good. I got this little pump here from Walmart in the marine section, right? The boating and marine section, the camping section, something like that. So it works really good. It's just slow, so I'm not gonna film that. You just have to pump this thing a million times. Okay, I think I'm done. Other than hooking up that PTO shaft, which I'm gonna do in about a week and a half when I take this thing to my brother's house and put the dump body on it. So it took just shy of 5 quarts of fluid to fill this thing up. So I haven't started this thing in a week. We're gonna go ahead and see if the battery's got enough power. Start this thing, let it warm up. Maybe we'll try to drive around the yard for a minute and see how this thing shifts. And then we'll check it for leaks. The old cold start. Yeah, we got dang ants everywhere. Always with the ants. All right, my battery gauge went up, so, and I hear the fuel pump running, so let me give this just a minute. Probably takes a couple minutes to pump some fuel up to the carburetor. I'm sure you know by now, if you've seen any of my other videos, this truck had a TBI to carb swap. So I always have to turn the ignition on and give it just a minute, let the electronic fuel pump the fuel up there. When it's off for a few days or a week, you know, the fuel drains all back out of the system. All right, let's give it a shot. Man, this clutch still feels pretty good. Nice. I just fixed the clutch the other day, a couple weeks ago. Incredible. Can you believe that? I didn't have to hit the throttle at all. And that was awesome. This thing's been sitting here for a week and it fired up so nice. I'm gonna let this thing warm up for a minute. I'm gonna put my tools and this canopy away, and then we will drive it around and check it for leaks. All right, this thing's been warming up, not quite 10 minutes. So let's see if this thing will, if we can drive. Take off in low. There we go. We got stuck on the hill there for a minute. I can't really hold this phone and shift gears, but let's give her a shot. See what we can do. All right, we're in first gear now. It's driving, it's shifting. Let's put her in reverse. It's Let's check this PTO out now and see if it will engage and work after I took it apart and put it back together. So right now this lever is all the way forward, which means the PTO is not engaged. So you can see here that the PTO is not spinning. It's been a while since I did this. Let's see if I remember how to work this thing. We put our clutch in and we pull this back. I don't know if that's engaged or not. Let's go check it out. Yes, awesome. You can see it's spinning now. It works. I wasn't sure that it was in there because normally, well, before I fixed this clutch, it used to grind and it was so hard to get the PTO engaged. Now it works so smooth. So we'll disengage the PTO Push our clutch back in. Give it just a second. Push that forward. It looks good, it's not spinning. Today is actually the first time that I have driven and tested out this truck since I fixed the clutch master and slave cylinder a couple weeks ago. If you haven't seen that video, be sure to go check it out. So about a week and a half from now, I'm going to be putting the dump body back on this dump truck, and we can test out the new hydraulic stuff that I fixed. Also, we can finally get back on my brand new tractor, my Yanmar SA 325. Haven't even used that thing in 2 weeks because I've been working on this dump truck. But I'm excited to put the dump body back on this thing, get on my tractor, start cleaning up this property. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.